Welcome to the dark and dangerous world of Warhammer 40,000. This sci-fi universe, created by Games Workshop, has long won many fans around the world. And today we want to tell you about one of the most popular and interesting series of games based on this universe, Warhammer 40,000 from Relic Entertainment. In this series, you will be able to face a fierce battle for survival, command huge armies, and even become the hero of a single mission in the heart of enemy territory. Ready to dive into the crazy world of Warhammer 40,000? So fasten your seatbelts and let's get started. Development of Warhammer 40,000: Dawn of War began in 2002 by Relic Entertainment. The developers immediately drew attention to the importance of creating a unique gaming experience that would be different from other real-time strategy games on the market. One of the main tasks was to develop a unique combat system that would fit the Warhammer 40,000 universe. As a result, the developers created a combat system that included destructible environments, special attacks and skills, and other unique features. Relic's Essence engine was used to create graphics in the game, which allowed for the creation of high-quality textures, lighting, and explosion effects. The developers also used a powerful physics system that allowed objects to respond to collisions and gravity. The developers also tried to convey the atmosphere of the Warhammer 40,000 universe in the game as much as possible. For this, high-quality graphic effects, musical accompaniment, and sound effects were used. In addition, the developers paid great attention to the game scenario and the quality of the artificial intelligence of opponents. They wanted players to enjoy a compelling storyline and fight smart and cunning enemies. Dawn of War also received several expansions that added new factions, modes, and missions. The developers have been constantly working to improve the game and meet the needs of the players. The game is based on the Warhammer 40,000 universe and is set in the 41st millennium during the time of the Galactic Empire. Players can choose from 4 factions: Space Marines, Eldar, Orcs, and Chaos, and fight for control of planets and resources. Dawn of War was one of the first games to use physics for combat, allowing players to build barricades and fortifications, as well as destroy buildings and other objects in the environment. In the first Dawn of War, there is only one company for the Space Marines, Blood Ravens. The rest of the races can only be played in multiplayer and skirmish. One of the main features of Dawn of War is that players can use different commands and tactics to win. For example, Space Marines can use powerful armor and weapons to defend their positions, and Orcs can develop faster than other factions using their Wah technique. The game also features a variety of additional modes, including The Last Stand, in which players must survive against multiple waves of enemies, and a multiplayer mode, in which players can fight against each other or play co-op. Even though Warhammer 40,000: Dawn of War was released over 15 years ago, it still remains popular with gamers. One of the reasons for this is the unique universe of Warhammer 40,000, which has not lost its relevance and still attracts fans of science fiction and fantasy. In addition, high-quality graphics and sound design make the game visually appealing even today. Also, the variety of game modes and the ability to choose factions and races makes the game very flexible and fun. This means that players can continue to enjoy the game and find new story and gameplay options even after years of play. In addition, the popularity of Warhammer 40,000: Dawn of War is further strengthened by an active online community that continues to create modifications and improvements to the game, which makes it even more interesting and diverse. Warhammer 40,000: Dawn of War received several additions that expand the game's content and add new features. The first expansion was Winter Assault, which was released in 2005. It added the ability to fully play for the Imperial Guard. Actually, in the game, there are 2 companies, for Order, Imperial Guard, and for Chaos. In 2006, a second expansion called Dark Crusade was released, which added a new campaign. You can pass for any of the 7 factions. The goal is to capture the entire planet, Cronus, for any faction. The map of the planet is divided into pieces. Each mission is a battle for a piece of the map. The third expansion to the game, Soulstorm, was released in 2008 and added 2 new playable factions, the Sisters of Battle and the Dark Eldar. New units and abilities for all factions have also been added, as well as the campaign for the planet mode, where the battle for 4 planets of the Korava system. You can play as any of the 9 factions: Chaos, Dark Eldar, Eldar, Imperial Guard, Necrons, Orcs, Battle Sisters, Space Marines, Tau. In addition to these official releases, There are also many community-created mods that add new units, factions, maps, and game modes, expanding the game experience even further. Warhammer 40,000: Dawn of War 2 was developed by Relic Entertainment and released in 2009. The development team decided to change the core gameplay mechanism and make it more like a tactical shooter. This means that the player must control a group of fighters, each with unique abilities and weapons. One of the main tasks for the developers was to create a new engine for the game to provide higher quality graphics and physics, as well as an improved multiplayer mode. To achieve this goal, the development team used their own Essence Engine 2.0. In addition, the developers have added a new game mode, the Dark Limit campaign, in which players had to manage a squad of Space Marines and complete various tasks related to the game's story. The second expansion to the game, Chaos Rising, was released in 2010 and added a new campaign, new units and features for the Space Marines, and a new playable faction, Chaos. The final expansion to the game, Retribution, was released in 2011 and added 4 new playable factions: Orcs, Eldar, Tyranids, and Imperial Guardsmen. This expansion also added a new faction campaign mode, allowing players to play the campaign as any of the available factions in the game. Overall, the development of Warhammer 40,000: Dawn of War 2 was productive and resulted in a game with better graphics, physics, artificial intelligence, and a unique gaming experience. She pleased the players with new features and improvements in the gameplay. The game received positive reviews from critics and left a deep mark on the history of the gaming industry. Despite the fact that the game has been out for a long time, it still remains popular among fans of the genre and continues to attract new players. Overall, Warhammer 40,000: Dawn of War 2 is a prime example of how you can successfully develop and improve a game series without losing your fanbase. Warhammer 40,000: Space Marine is a third-person shooter developed by Relic Entertainment in 2011. The game was created based on the Warhammer 40,000 universe and is the first game where the player can control a Space Marine from the Ultramarines chapter. Development of the game began in 2005 when Relic Entertainment obtained a license to use the Warhammer 40,000 universe. The development team decided to make a game that was more action-oriented and less strategic than other games in the Warhammer series. One of the key aspects of the development of the game was to create impressive graphics and atmosphere that would be typical of the Warhammer 40,000 universe. The developers spent a lot of time creating the details of the appearance of the Marines and the hostile creatures that they had to defeat. Another important part of the development of the game was the creation of a unique gameplay that would be addictive and dynamic. One of the key points in the game was the combination of shooting and close combat, which allowed the player to use different abilities and tactics to win the battle. During the development of the game, other interesting features were implemented, such as the health regeneration system, special attacks, and unique opponents, which added variety and interest to the game. Warhammer 40,000: Space Marine received positive reviews from critics and players alike due to its unique atmosphere, gameplay, and interesting features. It continues to be popular with the Warhammer 40,000 fan community and remains one of the best third-person shooter games ever made. Development of Warhammer 40,000: Dawn of War 3 began in 2011, but the first details about the project were not revealed until 2016. Unlike previous games in the series, Dawn of War 3 includes new gameplay mechanics that combine real-time strategy and MOBA elements. This was an unexpected decision for the fans and caused a lot of discussion in the community. One of the main features of the game was the new Essence Engine 4.0, which made it possible to create detailed and beautiful graphic effects, as well as a dynamic camera that monitors the actions of players on the battlefield. The developers paid special attention to multiplayer and social functions. They have included a new battle preparation system in the game that allows players to select and customize their armies, as well as take part in campaigns and tournaments. However, the game has faced criticism from fans and critics for its lack of many beloved features from previous games, such as bases and race diversity. Also, some players noted problems with the balance of the game and the inconvenience of the interface. Despite some shortcomings, Warhammer 40,000: Dawn of War 3 received positive reviews for its graphical effects and addictive multiplayer mode, which remains popular with fans to this day. At the moment, Relic Entertainment has no more Warhammer 40,000 games announced. but in development is Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2, where the developer is Saber Interactive and the publisher is Focus Entertainment. There are many more games in the Warhammer 40,000 universe from different studios that I have not touched. Thanks to Stepan for supporting this release. Write in the comments how you like the format of this release and what series of games you would like to hear about.